in 1958 when I moved into this neighborhood. I moved here from Chelsea. I used to live on 22nd Street and 10th Avenue in Chelsea by the Eat restaurant. I used to live right in the building next to it. And I really appreciated moving into the Lower East Side when I did that, because we used to live in a seven of us used to live in a one-bedroom apartment over there. And when we moved into the Lower East Side, we had a five-room apartment, you know, and my family was comfortable. My brothers and my sister, we all had a room to sleep in, and my parents had their own room. Since then, I became fond of this neighborhood. I started enjoying living here. I started going to elementary school in PS 188 on the Houston Street, which is still there. It's a very beautiful old building, and I started becoming friends of a lot of people. And the neighborhood, the tenement area of the neighborhood was the place where I used to hang out a lot, more than in the projects. Usually in the projects there wasn't too many places to hang out, you know, so me and my brothers, we used to hang out more in the streets, on 4th Street, 3rd Street, Avenue C, 5th Street, and started going to the institutions around there. The Boys Club was on Houston Street at one time, you know, and then I also used to started going to Henry Street Settlement and Grand Street Settlement, and which used to be at one time on Avenue on Columbia Street and Rivington, and you know, and hanging around in the old part of the neighborhood. I really got into hanging out in the bars and in the different backyards, all the backyards of the old tenement buildings were all ghetto, and mostly all the houses you could get through them, you know, just by walking. There wasn't any keys or locks, and it was all, you know, and they were all the backyards were all like neighborhood to hang out and socialize. You know, the buildings wasn't locked, the tenement buildings. And as a guy from the projects, the tenement backyard became our social life and our hangout, you know, together with the young people in the tenement buildings. That's where a lot of our friends used to hang out, in the old tenement buildings at the Lower East Side. And I became friends with a lot of those brothers and sisters. And a lot of them were living in situation that wasn't really good condition physically. It was a very bad situation, you know, and we used to go to Henry Street Settlement and Grand Street Settlement and tried to complain to them for help, and they did try to help. You know, I mean, those settlements were good centers, and they did try. But the situation in the city was rough in general, economically, you know, and then I realized that in order for things to work, we all have to participate. I started talking to my friends and the parents to start helping some of the settlement houses, you know. And believe me, the settlement houses and some other centers in the Lower East Side in the 50s and in the 60s, you know, help as much as they can, you know. But if the community didn't participate in helping, then solve the problem, we never would go anywhere, you know. And that's one of the things that kept me going, you know, trying to convince my friends to become part of something, become part of the recreational movement, become part of fixing something. And I also used to participate. Thank God that my father was a construction worker, and he taught me how to be a handyman, you know. So therefore, I used to participate too. And I did a lot of physical work together with a lot of my friends. And a lot of the work that this neighborhood improved was the participation of the community in helping improve situation, you know. And also I want to say something about the lady that organized this garden when he was at Gum, you know, Orlean Fall. Orlean Fall is the lady here next to me. I'm very proud that they put me next to her. And she was a very, very, very active community worker. I mean, she used to volunteer hard, and she worked very hard with a lot of the youth gangs that were in the neighborhood. And her son was named Bobby, was a very good friend of mine, you know. But I would like to thank that lady, just like I would like to thank Doña Carmen Pavon, which her father is an Avenue C, which was also a good friend of hers. They both used to live and met them both in the projects, and they both was residents of the projects, so they used to work in the tenement areas as volunteers. And they used to contribute a lot of work. They cooked a lot of food for a lot of poor people. And I'm very proud being next to her. Thank you, honey, for doing that. And and Carlos Pinto, you know, I would like to also thank, because me and Carlos, we became friends, you know, and we became very active. We did a lot of freaking mosaics today.
There you go.
You know, and a lot of things are all over the United States, you know, and I would like to thank Carlos for that piece of work. Thank you. You know, so it's important that we are enjoying this place for a celebration, because that was the purpose of Orlean Fall. You know, they will become a place where human beings come to enjoy themselves. You know, and she worked hard on this particular garden. She did a lot of physical work personally to get this garden going. Her and all her volunteers in the neighborhood. Thank you guys for finishing this. I also want to introduce, you know, my family, Taina, which when she was a little girl, I used to carry her with her a lot of places with me. Yeah. And one time I took her into a meeting with Mayor Koch. And Mayor Koch didn't want any kissing. Technically, you know, he said because they disturbed the meetings, you know, and Taina went into the meeting and she did not make not even one noise. And I told God, you see, all kids are not the same. You know, I knew God before he became mayor, you know, when he was in the West Village with the Democratic Club. And I used to go to meetings when in the Democratic Club on 7th Avenue. It was the Independent Democratic Democratic Club, I think they used to call themselves. And Koch was a member of it. And I knew him from there because that's when he started running for mayor. And that was one of the places that he started on. And I used to talk to him periodically when we was in neighborhood meetings, you know. So he was an interesting guy, you know. I would like to thank a lot of you, so friends that came by today, you know, and thank you. I'm glad that you're still around.
I'm glad that you're still around.
You know, and I'm happy to be here with you. Thank you. And thank you for all your friendship and your coffee periods that we all have, you know. Okay, you know. And I also would like to know that my Taina's son and daughter is here, and Dia and Carlos is sitting right next to her, and I'm glad that they're here because I would love when they grow up that they are part of something that helps humans.
Yes.
You know, that we always pay attention to that. You know, and I wish that my nephews and cousins in Puerto Rico and here in New York all participate in human situations, you know, because without us participating, nothing happens.
Yeah.
You know, so it's part that you become of something, you know, in your community. So God bless you guys, all of you, for being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.